Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your girl, neo soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya. I'm back again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. For those of you who don't know what that is, you're new to this series. This is where I get to talk candidly with my 70-year-old mother about topics ranging from relationship, religion, to parenting and politics. So we get into it. And we just, we dive in. Feel free to chime in. This morning segment is interesting, and like I said, I know I say that all the time, but it is very interesting. Um, this segment is actually this segment is actually about how you feel um, your need to fit in is. So basically, we're talking about in the workplace, we're talking about in church, we're talking about your friend, with your friends, with your associates. Um, I want to know how important it is to you for you to fit in. So I need to hear from you. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my mom on, but you go ahead and think about it, get your wheels turning. See, I wake up and do this segment at 7:30 in the morning because I need you guys to think, so that you guys, by the time you get to your jobs, by the time you sit down at your table and get logged in to work from home, all your little intellectual juices are flowing. Okay, so that's why we come up with these topics that make you think. So, all right, y'all go ahead and get your comments on. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get my mom on here. There she is.
Hey y'all. Hello.
How
Hello.
are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning. How's everybody?
I can't see your face.
You can't
I
see my
Oh,
face.
I see
That's
you
a
in the
good
book. There
thing.
you go. Wait a minute, hold on. There you go. There she go. There she go. In all her glamour, I tell you, man. So today I tried.
Hey,
Today
everybody.
I'm gonna take the L, and she's forever gonna reign as the queen. I think my kidney stones are back, so I'm smiling through it. You guys, I am in so much pain right now, but I'm not gonna tell you. I'm
Uh,
not gonna show it. I'm not gonna show it. I promise you. I got my heating pad on my stomach. I'm dying over here, but we making it. Again, today's topic: how important is it to you to fit in church, at the workplace, among your peers, your friends, your family? How important is it for you to fit in? I'm gonna let my mom go ahead and start this one off.
oh, wow. This feeds right into yesterday's topic of being an introvert,
Okay,
extrovert. What was the other one, La?
omnivert, ambivert.
And all, and everybody,
We were
everybody.
verting all morning yesterday.
Yes. But I tell you, it's interesting because on the workplace, I have such memories of not trying to fit in, but realizing that I didn't fit in. Um, and it didn't bother me. Well, maybe a teeny tiny bit, only because I'm thinking, well, am I missing something? The reason I'm not included in those sidebar conversations. Um, but later on, as I grew, as matured in my thoughts in the workplace, I realized that apparently it really wasn't for me anyway. It really does not bother me, even now, in church, wherever. I love, love, love people. I love people, but it really does not
Hey,
bother
Jamila.
me at all that I'm not in that little in crowd. I'm an observer most times, and I will, my eyes are like, it's like a scanner, like a robotic scanner, and I'm scanning the room whenever I enter a room, looking for the little clicks and ticks and what have you. Um, but it really does not bother me because I'm comfortable with myself, and that started early on in life. It's sometimes, when you find yourself in a group and then the group kind of weasel its way away from you, yeah, it kind of makes you a little sensitive. But that's why it's so important. And we've talked about this as well, getting in touch with yourself and being comfortable with yourself and loving yourself. So that's where I stand on that.
I agree. I think when I think of fitting in, that it hits me on all different angles. I know growing up, and this is not, I promise you we're not gonna make this a topic, but growing up in the era where light skinnedness was the trend, um, a lot of my peers were of the lighter hue, and I won't say I struggled with it, but it's always placed me in a position where I I felt like I was different. Not that I didn't belong, because back then I was very vocal, probably more vocal than I am now. That's a lie. But I was vocal, and so my personality kind of like overshadowed the thought of me not actually fitting in. And I kind of, as I got older, by the time I got to um, high school, it took me that long. By the time I got to high school, I kind of embraced the thought of being different. Luckily, and thank God that I had parents that instilled in me my self worth, or they were very instrumental in cultivating my self worth to me. So I was very smart, and talented, and athletic. So for me, it didn't really matter that I didn't fit into the cliques, because I was doing things that I loved, and I was doing things that I guess made my different stand out, so to speak. So I don't know. Maybe I have some people, some of my crew from high school on here that can kind of give me some insight. But yeah, I didn't really at that point, I think I was cool with it. I actually remember in middle school having a history teacher who made us, like, he would give us projects where we would have to act out certain things. So I remember doing the Patrick Henry speech. I remember having to come up with a campaign slogan. And I was the one that wanted to be like, flamboyant with it. And, like, we going to go all out. If we going to do this, we going to do it. Like, I didn't really care that most of the people in my class were like reserved, or like, well, why she gotta do all that. Like, I just wanted to take every assignment and just and get beyond an A. Like, that was my mindset. So I guess at that point I started to develop, like, not really caring that I didn't fit in. And fast forward today as an adult, um I don't think I really fit in. I don't fit in um uh artist wise. I Like, there are people that I look up to in the industry, like India Ivory, Erica Badu, uh, Jill Scott, Lauren Hill. But I think it's kind of hard to place me, where it'd be like, oh, she's like, her whole entire style, her sound and everything sounds like this person. I don't think I fit. Um, but and I guess classify myself R&B neo soul. Um, the neo soul part kind of makes me okay with being different. When I hear like the neo soul part in church, um, I don't, yeah, I don't. I'm different. I'm different. I'm a little
You
more.
know,
I'm a little more reserved. Um, I think in church I'm a little, and I'm being transparent here. I've never really spoken this out loud except to my mama and my husband. But I'm a little more reserved in church because growing up after my pastor, my dad passed away, and I'm experiencing going to other churches. I found that once people got to know, like people were cool. It was like, oh my gosh, she's so talented, she can do this, da, 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 she's so cool, blah, 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 look at her family, all this. And then once they got to know me and they got to see exactly what God was doing, um, things got a little bit different and strange. And so um, I felt the isolation. I felt, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I probably do, but I don't want to describe it because it doesn't really matter. But like, yeah, I feel different. I don't feel the need to fit in. Sometimes I'm sitting all to myself, and I think when my dad passed, I stopped going to church. I had been in the DMV area, following my dad around, preaching in different places, and I did not have confidence in any of the pastorship that was surrounding me, being behind the scenes. So I stopped going and had this dream. My dad came to me in this dream, and so yeah, uh, Reverend Carsey Craighead was regulating even after his death.
Senior.
So his senior. So I started going back to church, and for me, when I went back, it wasn't like um, I had never been in that atmosphere before. So I was full fledged, focused, and serious. So from the time I went back, I was just like, my mission is a little different. So it doesn't really matter if I fit in the cliques, like the praise teams, the choirs, the little, the groups around the church. It didn't really matter to me. But I do recognize that I stand out. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, and I think sometimes it's kind of made that way. But sometimes I just know that I'm different. I can relate. I can converse. I can hang out. But then there's a point where you kind of see the difference in me, because sometimes I do step back and step away because I'm not so much into the clicks. It's serious. It's serious for me, as far as like my salvation and how I operate my gift in church. So go ahead, Ma. I see you.
Do we have any comments?
Jamila said, I think the older you get, the less you care. I think being heavy for so long gave me thicker skin. I learned to give zero F's. Girl, I'm glad you spelled it that way.
Yeah, I
You
can
don't fit in, you stand out.
address that. Jamila, it's interesting you should say that because growing up, I was always, call it pleasingly plump and mature.
Pleasingly plump.
I looked more
Yeah, but
mature than I was. It had its pros and it had its cons. So I started out feeling a little bit different, and thank God I had godly parents who fed into me, and who fed me the word of God. The Bible tells us that we're peculiar people as Christians, as believers in Christ, which I am, and I claim proudly. Um, so it makes a difference when you know who you are. Get to know yourself before you even attempt to know anyone else. And on my job, on the workplace, as I grew older and I was working, I always had this saying: I will never be the favorite child on a workplace because I don't kowtow to people. I don't acquiesce to negative and people when they tell their little uh, in the lobby jokes. I'm not the one to, yeah, that's so funny. I want to, so you're saying that to say what? So stepping out of the groupie thing. So and I grew to love that side of me, the side that really didn't it didn't matter what others were saying, whether they had their little secret corners. I was once in an elevator with some coworkers, and they were talking all around me. And it was very clear, if there was a hidden camera, that one of these things is not like the other, because I was not in the clique. And their cliques on your workplace. There are cliques in churches.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and, again, when you grow to love yourself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You matter, but that doesn't matter being a part of the clique. Um, I guess that's one of the reasons in my ministry I choose to be obscure. I choose to be um, not identified by a title, not identified by, oh, that's Reverend so and so's wife. Um, I have some stories to tell of being a first lady and sitting in a church and being snubbed and people looking their nose down at me or whatever until they found out, oh, that's Reverend Craighead's wife, you know. And I very adamantly say, give the look, and my children know that look.
Yo,
To say,
you need to
really?
be in a light skinned girl
Did it
body.
matter? But I am, and Jamila, it is such a good thing when you grow to love yourself in the skin that you're in. And I love the skin that I am, and my daughter speaks of me dressing yesterday. And, I just
All
take
the
pride
time.
in me, in loving me. And so when it comes to other people, you know, opinions are like behinds, backsides. Everybody has one. May not be the shape that you want it,
I
but
was
everybody has a backside. So, I just encourage people to love yourself. Such a beautiful thing to love yourself.
Yeah, I think
Any
it's necessary. I need to hear from you guys. Come on now. I know
come on.
with all the TikToks that go around, with all the hey meaty, with all of the chain letters, the chain emails that go around. I'm pretty sure that you encounter like this, like so. I'm a child of the King. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God. And how many of you, like, when you're scrolling through Facebook, you'll stop at this thing that says, if you love God, do not scroll past. And then you start to read it, and then it's telling you all these things. Just giving
If
praises to God. And it's like, if you're not ashamed, you're going to forward this to 100 people. And how many of you, like, for a second contemplate, like, Lord, if I scroll past this, are you gonna, like, is that a mark against me? Is that a strike
no,
against me? Um, because I'm one of those. I'll scroll right on past because I don't want. Um,
your confirmation.
I I I believe that I live my life in a way that people see and know all the time and wherever I am, that I am a lover of the King. I'm a lover of Christ, and I am a child of God. I don't believe that in the different environments that I've been in, whether it be in performances or in a church setting, that um, my my outward showing of who I am or who I belong to is different. I believe that I can. It's safe to say that I'm a saint. So I don't owe anybody. I don't owe anybody anything, but I don't
But
get caught
God,
up in the whole, oh well, let me be a part of this because if I don't, they know they sent it to me, and if I don't send it, they gonna be like, she. I thought she was all into God, but I just don't think twice about it. If I don't, I'll see comments, I'll see little posts, and if I like them and I think it can inspire some people on my page, I'll go ahead and pass it along. But don't force me, don't push me to that, because I'm my own person, and I don't feel like just because this person says I should do this, and if I don't do it, then, oh, you must not be a child of God. Like,
in
I
other
don't
words, you
feel
don't
that at
need
all.
anyone else. You don't need anyone else's confirmation of who you are. The only person that
You always
should
say
confirm
that.
you
Always say what?
is
Hey, meaty.
what was that? What was that comment?
Always say no. I despise those chain messages. I know, right? I know
Oh yeah,
that. Let me tell you. I get them
Don't
all the time, and I think, like, I really think they be targeting me. I think they be, they look at my
know.
profile and they like,
Oh,
yo,
I
if
get them too.
anybody
So
going for it, then Lala going for it. Like, I really think they have me on this
let it be
list.
known, I hate those messages, and you want to turn me off really quick. Keep sending them. I don't like those. If you love God, if you this, no, I don't need your confirmation.
That's the hook
Uh,
right there, Meaty. Meaty says, I don't need anyone to verify my walk with Christ.
thank
That
you.
is so true. Like, if you,
Absolutely.
like, you always,
May the
always say
work
hello.
you do speak for you.
Because you are, sis. You're a queen. She said, always say hello, queen.
That's my other
But
baby. I love her, love her,
she
love her, and
alright. She
so is
alright. She alright. I want to hear from you guys. Like, seriously. Like, what,
yes. Come on,
and
guys.
this
Come
is,
on, come on.
like, this is important for me to know because I am a parent. And I just want to know what other parents are instilling in their children. Because again, your child is going to be growing up alongside of my child, and they're going to be in society together. And so I just need to know what's out there, or what's being put out there, or what needs to be put out there. Because in a world, in a society where everything is based off of a fad, um, where does your importance lie with the need to fit in?
Mm.
Are you comfortable being different? Are you, is it a matter of insecurity? Um, do you want to belong to something because of insecurity? Because that's the thing in itself too. It's like, I don't shun it because there are those who just are trying to find their self worth. And so sometimes, or let me ask you this, is it necessary sometimes for someone to belong to something in order to blossom into who it is that they are, if that makes sense? Um,
Certainly, yeah, certainly. Um, I've always encouraged my kids um, to always affiliate yourself with positive people, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out those people, even as a child, those people who are doing the right thing, who are positive, not necessarily a goody two shoes, but people who are speaking positive in your life,
mhm.
even children sometimes. I've had kids, and I just said this recently. I so miss, of all of the greats I've taught, I miss the little ones, the elementary, the preschool, because they are so giving. They will just, and even the middle school kids. I like your shoes. I like your hair. I like this. I like that. The little ones give you a big hug before all this stuff came about with, abuse and stuff. But they're so innocent when it comes to giving and showing appreciation for you. So it really feels good when you can align yourself with positive people. Again, I always encourage people, associate with positive people, people who are speaking into your life,
Yeah.
not out of your life. So, it makes a difference when your children are encouraged to look for the positive. And this is something um, I would suggest to parents, new and old, to constantly. I have this chart, and I have yet to print out a copy for my loved ones. It's a positive words to speak into children. It's like a whole thing. It's no excuse for having something positive to say every day,
Yeah.
3 times a day if you wish. But I'm going to get that to you, La. It's
It's
really,
say. Jamila
yeah.
says, look at my Jayla. She wears blue, green, pink hair, and like her mama, gives zero F's. I did my best to raise her to walk without caring what anyone except me thinks. I get it. Like, even with it's so funny. And because he's awesome, I don't mind sharing this and being transparent for him. Marc Anthony. Well, I would say all of them, but Marc Anthony especially. Um, most people see him and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's like the life of the party." Like, Marc Anthony, he walks around like, he knows that he's special and all this or whatever. The truth is that he, I won't say struggles, but sometimes he is aware that he's just different, and that he stands out. I said in one of our segments, Marc Anthony was skipped. So a lot of the friends that he had in school, they were there when he was in their grade. And then they were there when he was not in their grade. And so now that they're all in middle school, or, well, the people that he was in elementary school with before when he first started, like now he's in middle school and they're not. They're all in the same school. But um, he, when it got to the point where they were merged back together, being able to hang out together, they were like, well, you don't belong because you're not in our grade anymore. And so he came home hurt, and Marc Anthony, in true Marc Anthony style, he'll say it like, he'd be like, and it's like, I don't, I guess they don't want to be my friends no more. He's kind of like, yeah, this is how it is. But I know it's bothersome, and I can imagine even for adults when you've been a part of something and then people realize that there's favor surrounding you. Um, and where God is taking you is elevated. Doesn't mean that your attitude or your demeanor towards them changes, but they see the favor surrounding you and they see the elevation, and they begin to kind of like back themselves up from you. Um, how easy is it at that point to continue to walk in your purpose and not, you know, take a step back and say, well, I was a part, I was a part of the group. You know what I'm saying? I thought, like, what happened? I'm the same person. Like, um, not that you begin to, or do you begin to dumb yourself down just to stay in, not necessarily fit in because you're already there, um, but to stay in with the people that you started with. Like, how do you do
This is
that?
very that's very common with children. I found
What's
that
up, Tor?
I remember when I taught fifth grade, and I had this little girl. She's super smart, but she was very insecure when it came to fitting in with her peers because she was super smart. People, as you said, they tend to ostracize you. I went through that. You become the teacher's pet. Oh, she thinks she's all that because she gets A's and blah blah blah. And yes, those kids sometimes kids tend to dummy down to make themselves feel that they can fit in with the groupies. And I remember for one of the assemblies, I said this one little girl was actually crying because she was feeling really not a part of her class because she was really smart. And I said something to the effect, it's cool to be a nerd. It's cool to be smart. It's okay to be smart. You know, don't feel that you have to dummy down or, you know, be less smart to fit in. Be comfortable with yourself. It's okay. It's okay. And the other thing I've said this often, whether I was speaking or what have you. I had a counselor who told my sister. My sister had to go for a conference in my mother's stead once. My older sister, and the counselor told her, encourage your sister to get a B every now and then, a B and maybe a C. And she looked at him really strange. He said, because, at this point, this was middle school. When she does get anything lower than an A, she's going to really be devastated. And my sister told me, jokingly, she said, yeah,
I'm a
be
nerd.
devastated, be devastated. But it's, it's, it's very important that we encourage, hear me, please, parents, encourage your children,
Yeah.
yes, to be self-confident, at the same time to remain humble,
Yeah.
to remain humble. And my technique in maintaining or helping my grandkids and my children to remain humble is to, they see it as being critical. Grandma's always got something. Grandma's always going to say something, because I want you to strive, to keep striving. I don't want you to stop,
Yeah.
become stagnant and say, oh, I made it. I did it. I don't have to do anything else. I've had kids like that in school. Um, and I had a professor who said this once in high school, Black history professor, Mr. Brinkley, rest in peace. He said, if you think you are great, go into the mountain where the giants are
Yeah.
and then come back. Because there's always someone, there's always going to be someone who may excel even further than you have. And that's okay. When you've done your best, be satisfied, be content. It doesn't say you stop there, but you keep striving.
Let me ask a question, because I see a lot of my chocolate family on here. You know, those of you know the nice and chocolatey
That's,
hue. Let me ask a question, and I'm talking about all shades, like the whole box of chocolate, right? Um, in a world where, or in an era, in a world where you there is evidence of um segregation and discrimination, um and being a part of that, being a product of that, right? How many of you feel the need to fit in? Because I hear a lot of people saying, I don't ever feel the need to fit in. I'm different. I know this, blah 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 blah. And I'm one of those people. But my question is, how many of you feel the need sometimes to just to fit in, in a situation where you may be at work, you may be amongst your peers, you may be in a grocery store, and somebody see something, hear something, and they equate it to discrimination. And just because you black like them, they turn to you and be like, you know what I'm saying? And you don't know what they saying,
it's called
or
misery loves
it
company.
doesn't make sense to you, or you don't see it that way. Um,
Mhm.
how many of us feel the need to be like, yeah, 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 you right, instead of like, no, actually, that I don't see it like that. The conspiracy theory that you're thinking, yeah, nah. How many of us have found ourselves in that predicament, or that situation rather, where that happens, and you're like, just because we both black, like, come on now, everything in a black and white thing. Like, do you stand out, or do you stand down and just be like, yeah, you right, even if you don't chime in because you really don't agree, but you just like, yeah, you right, because I don't want to make them feel like we the only two black people that work here, like we gotta stick together, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many of you feel that, or have been in that situation? Hey, Stacy says some people thrive off of not fitting in so they can be different, sometimes at the expense of not forming any real relationships. Fitting in isn't always about being a follower. Find a place where you fit in and grow with those you're most comfortable around. I don't. I knew she was gonna be deep. Y'all gotta follow her. She's amazing. I don't want to fit in per se, but I want to be liked and loved by my peers. I'm not willing to be a messy person to fit in, but I understand being open to things, to build bonds. Everything is literally black and white, though. The whole world is segregated based on race. It's so much in there, man. Girl, come on now. Dang, Stacy. I'm trying
Ha-
to. I don't
Have you
even know
ever
where to
been
start.
have you ever been in a situation where you were the last one to come into that group of people, and everybody who's already there naturally have already bonded, clicked, and so forth? And sometimes there are two sides to that, three maybe. Sometimes there's always one or two people who will come over to you and like try to usher you into the group. Then there's those people who just sit there and like give you the look.
Mhm.
And then there are people who outwardly, blatantly uh, whisper little things to make you, in your minds, like, oh gosh, they're talking about me, and it must not be good because they're not smiling, So, and I myself have been in a situation in church. Praise the Lord, hallelujah.
Amen.
I've been in a situation in church where this lovely woman, it was a rehearsal of some kind where, volunteer Women's Day or what have you. And this particular woman, lovely woman, um, said loud enough for me to hear, looking in my direction, oh, we got a lot of new people in here, and something to indicate. And then that didn't get a response from me. And she said, um, oh, are you a soprano? Are you, in her way, trying to classify me or find out, where, to regulate. And I just still just sat there. And thereafter, it was almost as if her conscience kicked in, because from that point of the rehearsal through, the actual performance, and, it was like giving you the eye. But thereafter, and I think, and I believe I found out afterwards, that because of her association with someone who was very close to me, um, realized, hey, this ain't no scrub. Maybe I need to come, a little more politically correct. And from that day forward, sometime afterwards, um, we became closer. In fact, we met up at a some type of retreat, and she was able to get to know me
Mhm.
for me. And from that day forward, it's been, like a real connection between us. Um, I say that to say, and I've been guilty of this sometimes, to make a negative impression or get a negative impression of people when it really wasn't that way at all. It wasn't their intention. And then there were times like this one where the initial acquaintance was negative. But being a child of God and being a Christian and being a believer and believing that there's some good in everybody, and that we have to be that light to shine on others so that they will see our good works, that they will see the good in us. And maybe it will influence them to be that better person. And this is what I saw in this particular woman, who is a lovely woman. I thought she was lovely initially, and she's lovely, even more lovely now, as a result of her personality, her, outward
And then you,
appearance.
you 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 never know. Like her need to fit in may have been
Absolutely,
that's what that
absolutely.
click did. So it's like her
Yes,
need to fit in.
yes,
Well, I'm gonna take charge and I'm gonna do it this time. I'm gonna run the test. I'm gonna be the one, the initiator.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
Stacy said, I'm a people person. I fill out a room of people to see who has the most dominant place amongst the group, and I try to appeal to them first. I don't know why. May be my competitive nature of the alpha she in me. Now I'm alpha she. I do fill out a room. I feel you on that one, Stace. Like I will sit there and be quiet if I'm, especially if, because I've been invited to several things where I know the host may know one or two stragglers, but I don't know everybody else. Like that's their other that's their other group of friends, and so I'm basically there. I feel like the newbie because like these people know each other or whatever, but I'm a part of their other type of life or friendship, and so I find myself sitting there and I'll speak. I'm cordial. However, I'm filling out the room and I'm like, okay, yeah. All right, that's this is the leader of the pack, and I don't necessarily, I won't say that I'm appealing to them, but I'm very watchful. And it's a protectant for myself, because eventually what happens is I'm introduced. And most of the time, I'm introduced as, yo, this is a dope artist. Y'all gotta check her out. Blah 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 blah. And that's where it can go one of two ways. You have some people that's like, I ain't never heard of her. And then some people like, for real, y'all, your music out? Like, is it something I can listen to? Um, and so that's where, I begin to, like, this is my spotlight, this is my chance. And I don't think I really find myself trying to. I think I'm more like passive aggressive in that, because then they'll ask and I'll be like, oh yeah, I got some stuff out there. And that's just how I say it with that same face. Like, and my husband hates it because I'm not an enthusiast when it comes to like my music. Like, I'll tell people, but I'm not the one that's like, yo, you gotta check me out, yo, enjoy this stuff. Like, I'm not that person. Like, I'll get on stage and give you meat and then come on stage and be like, yo, what's up? Like, yo, you was eating chicken while I was sick and I'm hungry, and I don't say nothing else about me. I am very competitive. Um, and so in that regard, I don't, I think I go the opposite way. Like, I don't really try to fit in with the group. I show you different, and it's almost like, let me show you why you need me as a part of your team. Like, not because I'm like you, but because I'm not like you, and you don't have nobody like me, and you need somebody like me. So that's where I'm at. And when I see that comment from you, Stace, that's how I feel because I know you, and yo, you like goofy, like Johnny, like both of y'all. I think y'all supposed to be brother and sisters in another life, but like with you, it's almost like, yo, let me tell you why, like, I spotted out that you don't have a person like me, and let me tell you why you need a person like me on your team.
And that's the attitude we should really have.
Yeah.
And through your light, it's through that light. You really don't have to say a word if you're being true to yourself, because it will emerge. It will come to the surface eventually. If just do you, just be yourself. And I take pride in that, just being myself. Another story to tell: when I taught fourth grade, I had this little girl who was her grade. She was not really um, good at a lot of things, and she needed a lot of assistance in her work. And this particular day, I'm just teaching my heart out, and I'm just all over the classroom, sort of standing on desks or what have you. That was, of course, in my younger days. And this little girl was just sitting there, eyes wide open, and all of a sudden she raised her hand. She was raising her hand before I even finished the thought. And when I finished, I called on her, and she said, and this sticks with me, it will go with me to my grave. She said, "You must be a Christian." And I'm teaching, I believe it was math, and I'm like to myself, so where does this fit in? But it dawned on me afterwards, well, she said, it's just the way you explain things. I understood what you were saying. And she was so happy. It was like success. All you could see was success over her head. And it makes a difference. My point being, your light should shine wherever you are. Wherever you are, your light should shine. Like in the cartoons, where they have the little signs that bubble over the heads of the characters or what have you. Your light should shine. People should see that light from you. And when you're in a crowd, whether you're in a big crowd, small crowd, what have you, who you are, who you really are, should stand out. And you don't really have to do any soft
Let me
shoe,
say,
tap
somebody
dance,
should always have a
ballet.
Stacy Fu in the
You
group.
don't have to do anything but be you. Really, be you. Do you.
Get your life, bro. Like, I get it, I get it. And the reason why I knew this would be interesting is because so often what we say out of our mouths, like, we want it to sound good and profound. Like, um, I don't care that I'm not a part of the group or whatever, but you know, somewhere in here, because we were made for fellowship, we were made for
Absolutely.
relationship. So there's always
Interdependence.
going to be a yearning, even if it's not an outward showing, I believe, for relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a big group or a little group or just, a pair, you're you were made for relationship. So that part of you, whether it's to whether you're the one that looks like the other or you're the one that's different, it brings the
The
difference, you
outlier.
know. Um,
Outlier. Yeah.
I feel like there's always a yearning for relationship and fellowship. So, like
Yes.
to go based off of what Stacy was saying earlier, as far as like um, wanting to be a part of a group or something, or it feels good. It feels nice. It does because we were made for that. Like that was the plan, and so you do feel a certain way even if you don't act on it. I believe there is some thought of it or about it when you're ostracized or you're pushed out. And people do it for different reasons. A lot of people do it for insecurity. Like they're insecure, so they attach themselves to other insecure people so that they feel superior. And then you have this person that's like just attracted to the group in general, and they come in and it's like everybody's like, oh my gosh, she don't care about nobody. She just be, and then the person who is sort of like the leader of the group is like, who is she? Because now it exposes their insecurity when this person is just being them. I feel like relationship is necessary. I feel like fellowship is necessary. Um, but your motive is even more important. Like, what's your motivation behind it? Um, because if your motivation is to be to rise to the top and be above other people, um, then it's not going to end well for you. Like I think we talked about it before, where it's like um, when I was telling my children, like I want you to be the best, and my definition of being the best isn't it's not in competition with anybody else but yourself. Like this ain't about nobody else. So
Right.
even if you are a part of a group and you're like, yo, I'm this is who I like. This is me, man. This how I am all the time. And I'm looking on my timeline, and there's a couple of people like, yo, what you see is what you get. Like that's them all the time. I'm gonna tell y'all, this comedian is on here named
That's real.
Stacey Food. Like y'all gotta
That's
check
real
her out.
talk
When I
there.
tell you, everywhere she go, it don't matter where she at. She could be amongst churchgoers. She could be amongst people who are unchurched or whatever you want to call it. She can be in any type of setting, a formal setting, informal. Stacy gonna be Stacy. Like that's who she is, and she's dope for it. Like the respect that she gets from the Castro household is because it's not a fad thing. It's yo, this is who I am. Like I mean,
I'm with you, Stacy, on that one. I'm with you. I usually always go for the underdog. Um, I've been in a mall, and I remember the art show where Marc Anthony, the kids had their
their artwork
paintings
at
displayed.
Beauty Plaza.
Yes, and so I had, been through all. After I saw my grandkids and a few others, I was ready to just uh, wander off. And when the kids found me, I was sitting talking to this woman who they thought I knew. And the reality was, I had just met her. I just sat down and started talking with her. And as it turned out, this woman she had had a stroke. So she was, a little incapacitated. And she was just so happy to have someone to acquaint with her.
My mama,
And
she befriend
before
her.
we left, we so Stacy, I'm with you on that. I usually my goal, not just this side of my life, but it's always been to go for the underdog, go for the person who's the loner. Even when I had kids to come in, a new student to come in a classroom, my goal was to, first of all, I would align them with someone, a partner, who would, take them under their wing and just make them feel welcome. And this is what I do in life now. My goal is to encourage people, to show the love that God shows me. And God has no discretion of person. And it said in the word that wherever two or three are gathered together in his name, there he will be in the midst of us also. So that's my goal, is to bring God into a situation. I don't have to carry a big Bible. I don't have to carry a big old cross around my neck. I just have to carry me and the word of God with me, so that when people see me, they will see Christ. And I think, I know that is my goal in life, particularly now, this side of my life, when so much is happening around us. My goal is to make people feel wanted, need, make them feel that they matter. They matter because people do matter. Everybody matters.
They do. You matter. You matter. You matter. You
Yes.
matter.
And you get a car, and you get a car.
Yo, let me tell you, it is so hard to leave you guys. Like first of all, this is a 30-minute segment. How we
Yeah.
almost at an hour, I don't know. But it's so interesting. That's because y'all don't get up early enough to get on here when we first get on here. That's what it is. And then the
You
conversation get
really
good, you
get
know what I'm
up
saying?
early.
And like,
You
know,
don't
before you
really
know it,
like
the
I
time is
do.
gone. But like, it's so necessary because in this whole concept of a do-over, I hear a lot of people saying that, um, when we come out of this situation, out of this pandemic, you have an opportunity to like, um, not go back to life as you knew it, um,
Absolutely.
but to live a new normal, or create a new normal, so to speak. And so these topics that we come up with are so necessary and apropos to what needs to happen after we come out of this situation, because some things need to change. You was driving this morning. Well, I appreciate you chiming in. Hopefully, you were safe driving. You wasn't like using your phone in your hand. And
Who was
I'm
that?
an ex police officer, Toriano. I don't have to call
Please
my
be
people to
safe.
pull you
Be
over.
safe. Nothing but love for you guys and respect.
We do. We really appreciate everybody who's out there on the front line and people that just, what people don't consider the front line, but you're out there working. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in the midst of this every day, where some of us get to work from the comfort of our homes, and be safe. And surrounded by just us. Um, and so, like those who are going to work, thank God for the continuous paycheck. At the same time, I pray His covering over you, because I know it's not easy, having this stuff going around, and you want to be strong, and you next to somebody and wonder if they gonna call for you, like real talk, um,
Yeah.
because as it begins to hit home, people that it starts to hit a little more serious, a little different. So we appreciate you. But we're not gonna keep y'all longer because we've been on here forever. But again, the topic is
Please,
amazing. Like, let the comments keep going.
please.
Somebody said I tend to take over the group and everyone wants to get behind me. Um, wow. Yeah, I believe that. I did struggle in college though, until I found a group of friends that encouraged my intellect. Thankfully, I've never really been in an environment where I felt I had to fit in with the other Black people. Like, things.
Let me say this with that. A leader, a real true leader, also knows how to follow.
That's the hook right there. Where you at, Stace? I think you said that in so many words in one of your statements. That's the hook right there. Like, in order to be an effective and a good leader, you have to know how to be an effective and a good follower, and know who to follow. That's necessary. And so,
Yeah.
with that, we're gonna end on that note. Like, it's been real. It's been amazing. Now I gotta play catch up. My pastor goes live. I gotta go check him out, see what he's talking about for the day, get my word up in me. Um, and I love you. Remember that. I
Love
love you.
you.
Mama, I
Love you.
love
Love
you,
you.
and God loves you too. You guys are amazing. Until tomorrow, tomorrow's topic is gonna be dope. All of the topics are dope. Like, they so necessary.
Yes. Yes. And
And
we
while I'm
do it.
on here, because I can, I need you guys to go and check out my baby girl. Her name is
Please.
Lady C. She is
Yes.
now on all platforms. You can find her if
Yes.
you got an Apple phone and Apple Music. You can go to Amazon. I'll put the link up in this in the comments for this segment so that you guys can check her out. Yo, she's dope. And so for
And yes, the
those who have
entire
kids,
series.
her lyrics are fire. Her message is
Yes,
necessary. You
I
guys
enjoy
have to
from
cop the CD. It's
yes,
amazing. If you want your hard copy, then you can send $10 to Cash App $ LayTC. That's LAYTC. Yes, I'm advertising my baby girl because this is my show, not
yes,
do what I want.
yes, yes.
So make
I
sure you check it out. It's amazing. You won't be disappointed. Get your kids, your friend, your kids' friends, your nieces and nephews. The messages are necessary. So on that note, talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day on purpose and peace out.
understand. Love you.